This video is going to explain about the Chapter 7 Mutation. Chapter Mutation has 3 subtopics. 7.1 Mutation Classification and Types. The meaning of mutation is the change in the nucleotide sequence of an organism's DNA or in the DNA or RNA virus. Mutation creates genetic diversity because mutation will lead to the change in the genotype and phenotype of an individual which is different from the parent and it can be inherited. If the mutation occurs in the gametes of the parents, it will be passed from generation to generation and this is inheritable. If the mutation occurs in the somatic cell, it will only be passed to the daughter cell by mitosis and it is not inheritable. We have 2 types of mutation. First is gene mutation, or it also known as point mutation. Second, it is called chromosomal mutation. We have 2 factors that cause mutation to occur. One is spontaneous mutation, one is induced mutation. Spontaneous mutation, it occurs spontaneously during the process of DNA replication. It is a natural process. Induced mutation, when the organism is exposed to the mutagen, example, chemical or radiation. Mutagen is a kind of chemical or physical agent that will cause mutation. So we have 2 types of mutagen, either chemical or physical. Any organism which carry mutated gene, he or she is known as a mutant. So 7.2 is about gene mutation. The meaning of gene mutation is the change in the nucleotide sequence of DNA that represent a gene. Gene mutation can cause mistake in a base pairing during DNA replication or misreading of the genetic code during translation phase of protein synthesis. Remember in chapter 6, we have learned about the process of transcription and translation. So when gene mutation occurs in the DNA, during the transcription process, it will be transcribed into mRNA. So when the base sequence in the DNA is wrong, so mRNA also will be transcribed wrongly, and the mRNA will be translated into amino acid. So when DNA is affected, mRNA affected, amino acid also will be affected. So it will change in the amino acid sequence, thus change the protein. So when the protein is changed, the protein is not function as normal. Okay, so it includes a few nucleotide pairs, so we call it as a point mutation, where it changes a single nucleotide pair of a gene. So if a point mutation occurs in gamete or in the cell that give rise to the gamete, it will be transmitted to the offspring and to the future generation. So example of disease caused by gene mutation is sickle-cell anemia. So we have 4 classes of gene mutation named as base substitution, base insertion, base deletion, and base inversion. So why we underline the word base, this refers to the nitrogenous base that occurs in the DNA. Okay, so first, base inversion. So for base inversion, more than one nucleotides or a small region of DNA breaks off and rotate 180 degrees before rejoining the DNA. So it will cause the change in the codon, because when DNA change, codon change, so amino acid sequence also change during translation. So it causes some minor phenotypic abnormalities. So before base inversion occur, our original DNA is GC. Okay, ACG, CGG. So this particular section of DNA breaks and rotate 180 degree and then they rejoin. So they become ACCGGG. So because of this inversion occur, our amino acid, which is supposed to be arginine for CGG, now it becomes GGG. So it will code for glycine instead. Second class is base substitution. One nucleotide or nucleotide pairs replaces another nucleotide in the genetic material in DNA. Example, original DNA, it was CTT. Now, adenine replace thymine. Okay, it will be replaced by thymine. So, the amino acid will also be changed. So, we have three effects of base substitution: missense mutation, nonsense mutation, and silent mutation. So, first, missense mutation, change in the codon or the base sequence that lead to change in the amino acid. So missense means another meaning. So in other words, it is a type of base substitution that change one amino acid to another amino acid in the polypeptide. It will still code for amino acid, but not the correct amino acid during the translation. Of missense mutation, we have sickle-cell anemia, which is a defective in erythrocyte, which is our red blood cell. So normal hemoglobin, we have 4 polypeptide chain, 2 alpha and 2 beta, and code by different gene. The replacement of base thymine to base adenine at the 17 nucleotide DNA of the gene for the chain of hemoglobin changes GAA into GUA. So initially GAA will be coded by glutamic acid. After it substitutes to become GUA, it will be coded for valine instead in the beta polypeptide chains. It causes abnormal hemoglobin allele in our erythrocyte. So now the erythrocyte, our red blood cell, will be sickle shape. Okay. Okay, so now this wild type beta globin, wild type means normal. Okay, without mutation. So initially our DNA, the 3' to 5' is CTC, 5' to 3' is GAG. Okay, so now we refer the 3', 5' as our template during transcription. So after transcription, it becomes C to G, T to A, C to G. So now GAG will be coded for glutamic acid. This is for normal hemoglobin. While sickle cell beta chain of the hemoglobin, A replaces the T. Okay, so now it becomes GUG instead of GAG. So GAG code for glutamic acid, GUG code for valine. So because of one of the amino acid is different, our red blood cell become sickle shape. Okay, the normal red blood cell should be biconcave shape. Now sickle shape red blood cell will be produced. So what is the effect of sickle shape red blood cell? This red blood cell will be stiff and tend to accumulate in the small capillary and prevent the normal blood flow. So now hemoglobin is not efficient in transporting oxygen anymore, and it producing pain and eventually damage other organs. So the symptom of this patient, they have insufficient supply of oxygen to the organs, organ damage occur. So physically, this patient is weak and always feel fatigue, headache, pale skin, chest pain, short breath due to insufficient supply of oxygen. Okay, so when the red blood cell becomes sickle shape, this sickle shape red blood cell will tend to block the normal blood flow. So that's the reason why the oxygen is insufficient to be supplied to other organs.